Thank you for staying with us. And the first leg of this conversation this morning is about the rule of law, governance on one side, the rule of law at the other side, and democracy in between. Now, democracy affords people to have their say. Majority, might have the say, but then the minority will always have their say. That's why the government of the people, for the people, and by the same people. Now, in this case, the voices of dissent in any democracy are being heard, criticisms, albeit positive or sometimes negative, is all part of the ecosystem. But now, when it seems those voices are being frowned at, rightly or wrongly, one should worry. And that's why many Nigerians are thinking what is going on, especially with the aftermath of the announcement of a shadow government by social economist and a professor, Pat Utomi, who said under his big tent movement, there is need, to have a shadow government that will be a think tank that will show the government its failures, provide solutions, be effective in letting the government see its failures, either the economic way, the financial way, the insecurity. And Professor Utomi said, well, what we are seeing is not thinking, that we just have to let it be a free ride. Somebody must just speak up, and that's why, that's what called for that big tent movement of the shadow government. But then that hasn't gotten well with the government, especially the security, in which the domestic intelligence unit of the country, that's the Dss'S, has taken it upon themselves to go to the court, seeking an order against that particular, initiative, the shadow government. But then Professor Pat Utomi, was on the social media towards the weekend last week, and, he turned out the realities, and he said, if we die, we'll die. All of us cannot just be in a place that recognizes the support of the people, and he said more than many persons are ready to, provide him support with more than 500 lawyers, and he is ready for that. Part of what Professor Utomi said was to stifle freedom of expression and bully civilized expression of difference is an act of cowardice and treachery to the Constitution of Nigeria. What many people cannot figure out is how we got here. However, we did. Patriots from 6 zones of Nigeria must rise to reject these. Heartened by messages of solidarity from across Nigeria on the shadow business of chasing shadows of shadow cabinets. Interesting use of words there. I said to worship money and power at the expense of the future of all our children we live in, with no care for the peace and progress of those times, is condemnable by all of decent conscience. They have a moral obligation to push back on such darkness. These were the words, of Professor Pat Utomi. He said many things, but the Dss'S has taken him to court to say this is against the rule of law. You can't have two governments in the same space. But then we have someone, we look into the nitty-gritty in the course of the program, is the DJ at the Heritage Center, public affairs analyst of note, Dr. Kachi Nunuju. He joins us virtually this morning. Dr. Nunuju, good to have you again. Good morning.
Thank you very much for this. I'm happy to be here with you and your audience.
All right, very well. Now, what is it? Let me ask you, before we even go to the Dss'S part and the back and forth, Professor Utomi's big tent came forth with a shadow government, and many persons are saying, is it not taking too far? A shadow government is supposed to be an opposition. That should be the business of the officially registered political parties. But when an individual with some, like-mind come together to say we are going to be that opposition, or we are going to form a shadow government, isn't that going too far for Prof and his friends? Or what's your impression?
Well, in a word, it's very simple, and it is a very self-explanatory word. Shadow government means the members of the opposition organized in a way where there are articulated speakers for different categories of issues. If it is in governance, there are people in the opposition who will talk back. If it is an issue of economics, there are people in the opposition who will do the replies to government policy. If it is issues about defense, there are very, very strong defense informed members of the opposition who will reply. This is historically the norm in a democracy. I think where the DSS got it wrong is they probably were thinking that Utomi was referring to parallel government. You see, it's a parallel government, the words are different, and he was very clear. He says shadow government. Shadow government means the opposition being actively available and doing its duties, and that's what it is, okay? He didn't say parallel government, he said shadow government. Shadow government means opposition. Why are we having this talk about shadow government? It's because the opposition seems to be comatose and moribund, and that's the reason. If not, historically, it's the natural name for what we see oppositions do in a democracy is that of a shadow government. You reply, you speak on issues, and that's what it is. It doesn't mean you become a parallel government. No, you're not parallel government. You are a shadow government. So I think those who are complaining to what Professor Utomi said are probably misunderstanding the words and their meaning. He is right, shadow government. But why you don't have it now is because the opposition right now in Nigeria are moribund and comatose. So when you now talk about what opposition normally should do, somebody start thinking that you're saying something that is illegal. No. What is not proper and unacceptable is a parallel government.
All right.
What Pat Utomi is speaking about is a shadow government, which is shadowing people in government, but speaking to the truth of issues of governance, and that's what the job of the opposition has historically been. If you check in the United Kingdom, the Labour Party runs a shadow government, and that's what it is. In the United States, the Democratic Party today runs a shadow government. They always speak out, and this is the game it says. But because of the way the opposition had been undermined in Nigeria, you know, like when we had under Buhari, the opposition leader who was living in Dubai, and that you couldn't have opposition say a thing or do a thing. And the minute when it is time for people to now come out and run for presidency, they come back and use money and try to implement the fraud that soldiers try to implement. No, Nigeria should respect inclusion.
All right, Dr. Ononuju. The DSS has taken it upon themselves, to drag Pat Utomi to court because of the shadow government. Dr. Ononuju, let's look at it from this angle. What is the basic responsibility of the DSS? They are supposed to be an intelligence agency. That should be their function, okay, constitutionally. Now they've taken upon themselves to drag Pat Utomi to court at a time when insecurity is rising in Nigeria. For instance, Dr. Ononuju, just yesterday, the governor of Borno State cried out again, saying that terrorists are taking over his state. In Mate local government, for instance, he's saying that only one village is left standing out of about 300 that terrorists have taken over everywhere. And he's calling on the government to step in. So looking at it from that angle, do you really think that the DSS being proactive now in taking Pat Utomi to court, do you see that as misplaced priority on the part of the DSS instead of them fighting insecurity in Nigeria?
Well, the DSS job is primarily to look after the presidency, and that's what they are. It was the SSS, now it becomes the DSS, State Security Service, and call themselves now Department of State Security, so whatever that is. Well, I know there's a failure of our security architecture to actually tailor and prepare what I would call an intelligent response to the current insecurity across the country. They might end up having us, resort to self-help. I know I have seen in several communities, people are now designing their own self-help strategies. And I even read some yesterday advising people, whatever you do, don't tell anybody, because when you speak, because of members of the state probably in complicit, collusion, as General Danjuma stated, it's not everybody that works for the Nigerian state that are today in collusion. But because of Buhari's set of protocols in which those who work with the state are in collusion with these terrorists, and President Tinubu had not been able to weed those people out, it becomes a problem trusting them. And that's why I can understand his sudden attempt to now resort to a new body called the Forest Guards. They may not be infiltrated, and that they may be able to build something that has not yet been Afghanistan. You know, our security services, I believe, have been Afghanistan. You know, the Afghanistanization of the security services simply means the infiltration of our security services of those evil people, the terrorists, just the same way Buhari ran what he called a de-radicalization policy, which now got him to infuse members of the terrorist movement into the security services, primarily the army. And what did you have? Suddenly, these people infused and are the ones providing intelligence to those who didn't get converted, you know, through the radicalization problem. So we have a problem. And you are right. There is not a proper stating of priorities of state by departments of state, in this case, the Department of State Security. What they are going after is not the proper thing to do. They should be gathering intelligence to tell the army or the police who to go and hold or to take away from the space so that we can have peace. They're not doing that. You know, the crisis is still sustaining all across the country. People are being killed, and these militias are killing people everywhere, and nobody's doing a thing. So for me, the state is still very much asleep and sleeping right on the wheels. I think pursuing Professor Utomi is not the right thing to do. It just shows you the issue about misplaced priorities. Professor Utomi is not the problem. The opposition is not the problem. Talking about organizing the opposition so that they can function effectively as they should as a shadow government is not the same as saying you want to form a parallel government. So I think it is just misunderstanding of the meaning of the words used. I think the DSS should just go and sit down and find something better to do.
All right. Now, you know, when you talk about DSS now, they are not just one local organization where they might not know the meaning of words. And I tell you something, that, you know, jobs, and I'm sure you're very much abreast with how it works, you know, in this kind of organization, in which there are different departments, the legal department, logistics, ICT, the technical team, the combatant, and all of those guys. So one would think they know what you're saying, but in that suit, against Professor Pat Utomi and the Big Tent, they argued that not only was the planned shadow government an aberration, it constituted a grave attack on the Constitution and a threat to the democratically elected government that is currently in place. These were their words, and that suit was filed on May 13 by Akinlolu Kende, SAN, and SAN filed that on behalf of the DSS and contended that the move by Utomi was intended to create chaos and destabilize the country, and they expressed concern that such a structure styled as a shadow government, if left unchecked, may incite political unrest, cause intergroup tensions, and embolden other unlawful actors or separatist entities to replicate similar parallel government arrangement, all of which will pose a grave threat to national security. And so they are urging the court, this is their prayer now, to declare the purported shadow government or shadow cabinet being planned by Utomi and his associates as unconstitutional and amounts to an attempt to create a parallel authority not recognized by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, you know, knowing fully well in your introductions, you say it's purely the business of opposition political parties. Now, the Big Tent is not a political party, you know, that is recognized to provide opposition. Don't you see from the DSS point of view as well to say, yes, you can speak your mind, but when you come out as an individual with some group of people, not a political party, to say you are going to be providing opposition, then you are calling for chaos because many other persons might follow suit. You don't see it that way.
That's not true. Pat Utomi worked with me in the Peter Obi presidential campaign team. I traveled with Pat Utomi to Borno State. I traveled with Pat Utomi to Bauchi State. I traveled with Pat Utomi to quite a lot of places as a special advisor to His Excellency Peter Obi on public affairs. So I don't think what they are saying, the DSS, they know what they're doing. I think they're probably just bringing a frivolous suit to try to undermine the opposition. And I think, if you ask me, if they were properly advised by a good lawyer, of course, every lawyer will say, give me the case, let me go to court so that you can spend money and put money in their pocket. Can't you see that in these words of the son, he now said that by doing a shadow government, that they're trying to do a parallel government. That's the word. The word is parallel government. They are not forming a parallel government. Oppositions do, work as shadow government. That's why when I was criticizing the government in power under President Buhari, not everybody liked what I was doing. When Vice President Osibanjo said he will remove his immunity and charge me to court that I was defaming him, my words to him was, we, the opposition, are the shadow government, and I have every right to speak on behalf of the opposition. And so he cannot stifle my right to interrogate his service records. This is democracy. And what did he do? He went back. If he thought I was wrong in my public statements in regards to his service records, what he will do, he will present his own and say, this is what I've done. You're not right. This is what it is. This is what it is. But I was right. So he went back because he thought I was hard on him. But then that's what the opposition is meant to be. The opposition is not supposed to be your friend. So I think what Pat has done is correct in stating that the opposition should come together and arrange a proper network of responses to whatever happens within the political arena. But no, we don't have it because, as I said earlier, the opposition currently is comatose and totally in disarray, as you can see, with everybody stepping into the ruling party because they are afraid, mostly by the first-term governors who are afraid that they may not get a re-election if they don't move into the ruling party because of the fears that we don't have proper electoral reforms and the way the system is now bent against the opposition, that they just could have their state stolen outrightly. And that's the reason. So for me, I think what Pat Utomi has done is nothing against the law. Of course, there's nothing wrong in taking him to court and trying to seek a judicial interpretation that Nigeria is a democracy and so should have an opposition, and the opposition has every right to organize itself into a shadow government. And that's what it is. It did not talk about a parallel government. No, nobody's talking about a parallel government. What they have talking about is shadow government. And I think we should understand that.
All right, Dr. Ononuju. When Professor Pat Utomi launched the Big Tent Coalition on the 5th of May 2025, he made it clear that the main purpose of this shadow government, of this Big Tent Coalition, is to critique the policies of the federal government and proffer solutions. He even made it clear that he doesn't mind that the government can actually, borrow their plans, okay? That they are going to show Nigerians better ways to do things. For instance, the power sector, that they are going to have a shadow government, someone who occupies a position in the shadow cabinet who will proffer better solutions to our power sector. And the same thing applies to the different sectors of the economy. So he made it clear that he just wants to critique the government, and not just to critique, to proffer alternative solutions that the government can copy. So every well-meaning Nigerian should be happy that, we have someone who is bringing people together, professionals, technocrats, who can think and actually profess solutions. My question is this, Dr. Ononuju, what exactly is the government scared of? If someone is saying that, I just want to critique your policies and proffer solutions, it's left for you to just look at the solutions and say, if we try this, if it works, then fine, Pat Utomi wins. If it doesn't work, then we have proven Pat Utomi wrong. But the question again is, and Pat Utomi also has that question, what exactly is the government scared of? Are they scared of criticisms, constructive criticisms in this case, because he's not just going to be critiquing them, he will be proffering solutions. So in your opinion, Dr. Onoju, what do you think that the federal government of Nigeria is really scared of at this time? Talking about the shadow government's move of Pat Utomi.
Well, you should understand that the government is currently very unpopular. And of course, that's the reason why anybody would want to do anything. But then it's good that whatever we do it in line with the law. And in this case, Pat Utomi has not broken any law. He is correct. They might just come for him because they might say, but okay, he's not a party leader. But that's wrong. A member of a political party can put forward suggestions, and that's what he's saying. So this is what the opposition should come together and do on their own, but not people who are not members of the political party. Pat Utomi is a member and a leader, like I am, of the obedient movement. And we all did the obedient movement together, which we formed alongside my good brother, Omoba Doinokukwe. We left the PDP. And we started doing this, and with time, we got P2B to head it, and the rest is history. We went and did that right from 8 months to elections, and we were able to rouse the country and then show them that things could be done better in a new way. And Pat Utomi was one of those who came in to help us, and that was when I started working with him. So I think, yes, out of frustrations of how things are going, is making this very, very saintly recommendation. It should be commended. It's good for the democracy. It has nothing to do with the ruling party. It's about our democracy. So I believe that for the good of our democracy, there is a need for a virile and very, very active opposition. Pat Utomi has not done anything that's wrong or anything that should be questioned by anyone. It is when the shadow government does things or through its members or whatever that are against the law. There's no offense in being a member of the opposition. There's no offense in articulating policies to counter what the government does. What Pat Utomi is saying is that the opposition should be better organized, and that's all. So suggesting that the opposition should be better organized, I don't think any court will find him, to be in any way in violation of the law. No. Professor Utomi has not violated any law. He's only said that the opposition should be better organized to act like a shadow government, which is the case in the United Kingdom, which is the case and also the United States. This is how it is. It runs contrary to suggestions of a one-party state. No, a democracy should have a credible opposition that should be virile and available, not what we currently have in today's Nigeria.
All right. Now, but you talked about everybody moving towards the center just now and having a one-party state. Yeah. Last week we had that discussion, excuse me. And then, you had it with us, we had it with so many persons as well, in which you said it can never be possible to have a one-party state, and you gave your reasons as well. But then after that, the APC made a clarification and said, no, they don't have the intention of making the country a one-party state, and so it is not what people think it is. But then after that, politicians from the same party, the Senate, the House of Reps president, that's Tajuddin Abbas, has said, the speaker rather, I beg to say, the speaker of the House of Reps, Tajuddin Abbas, has been heard to say, it's what it is. The former governor of Akwa Ibom State, the Senate president, has been quoted to say, by 2027, I'm not sure any party will be remaining, but the ruling APC. And many persons are saying, when you see these big leaders say this, either casually or jokingly, at different forum, and they keep saying this, doesn't it point to something that there is an intentional, move by the ruling party or those in the ruling party, to make the country have just a one-party, to be a one-party state. But then this is part of the things that Professor Pat is saying, and he was on social media last week, and he read out many things, statistics, history, and why these things should not be and why he's ready. But all of those questions will be after now. We'll go on this quick break. Dr. Catch, when we come back, we'll reel out precept after precept, notions from the ruling party and thank you for staying with us, on Morning Spring today, and we're looking at the Dss'S, Department of State Services suit against Professor Pat Utomi, on the allegations of, him causing chaos with his, and trying, to usurp the executive powers of the president with the formation of the shadow government that is being proposed, to which you have members all across, including social critics who will analyze government policies, identify the failures, and provide solutions as well. Now, we have Dr. Pat Utomi with us, and he has been bearing his mind on these issues. I said something earlier, and it was widely reported, where the Senate President, Professor Pat Utomi, said there will be nothing like political parties in 2027, and he said that on Friday, that there will be no political party in the state, that's talking about Akwa Ibom State, rather, from 2027 general election. And he said that the PDP umbrella has been torn into shreds and can no longer protect the people. He did that at an empowerment program that he had. And let me quote him. Senate President Pat Utomi said, "As I speak with you, there is nothing like a political party in 2027 in Akwa Ibom State again. For the Senate of Ikotepene, Central District, all political parties have collapsed to vote for Senator Godswill Akpabio. For the office of the governor in 2027, all political parties have agreed to vote for Governor Umueno, and Akwa Ibom has moved to vote for President Bola Tinubu, Eno for governor of Akwa Ibom, Senator Akpabio for Senate, and this is part of what we had." Now, Dr. Utomi, when you see politicians making this kind of statement like the people doesn't even have a say, they have already made a projection, and this is how it's going to be. So what does that say about us? Because I'm sure voters will just be like, okay, I think you have everything cut out for you, so please leave us out of it.
I don't think so. What Senator Akpabio have stated are his personal opinion, and these are wishes, which in some case he's able to bring to fruition by cajoling and talking and working with the governor, who now thinks if their son could have the enviable position of the, what's this called, of the Senate presidency, and he's able to bring the goodies home, because the essence of our representative politics is to bring a lot of advantages to your primary constituents.
Dr. Ononuju, if you might please allow me, please. If Ganduje last week, or a few days ago, said, if there's the people's wish to have a one-party state, we won't force them, but it's okay. Senate President is saying, as far as Akwa Ibom State is concerned, they know where they are going, no opposition. As far as 2027 is concerned, and the Speaker of the House is saying there are more high-profile defections looming to the same party. You think it's just personal opinions? You don't think that is an intentional move?
Opinions. There's nothing wrong with them having such opinions that reflect their wishes. This is the beauty of this. Is a contested platform. It is a political contesting field, and there's nothing wrong with a set of players from a particular team coming to say, look, by next year, all of that teams will be eclipsed. There'll be no other team worthy of challenging us in the league. In short, will be everything. What you're hearing from these people is small compared to what you hear from teams who get support from fans. Look, there are a lot of teams in the football arena with crazy fans like this. They will not recognize any other team to exist. To them, their team is everything. Their team is this. So they will act and talk as if All I will tell you is those things they say are opinions. And those things they opine.
Doctor, using your analogy, these are not fans. These are the players. These are the stakeholders.
These are fans of their parties.
They are the power brokers.
A member of a party is a fan of his party. First, you must be a fan of the political party for you to invest your emotions and your energies in that political party. There is nothing wrong with Akpabio saying that he wishes that his state will not collapse into his party. What's wrong with that? It's a wish. What's wrong with that? He has every opinion to hold. That's his opinion. The law allows him. It is for you and me to not say, no, we don't agree with your position. We want to go this way. We want to be this way. And that's why we are a democracy. That's why no matter what you say to anybody, no matter what the DSS says to Pat Utomi, the court will tell them it is a democracy, and other parties have every right to form, if they have the metal, an opposition platform. If you call it a shadow government, like it is called in the United Kingdom, it's all right. The British shadow government is not a parent government, but it's a government in waiting. What Pat Utomi is telling you is like I told you in my opening paragraph. In every sphere of our national life, be it in defense, there'll be somebody in the opposition who knows things about the defense, who knows what to take. If it comes to issues of national security, there are people who knows it who will say, this were happening. The APC was doing the same thing. They had a shadow government. They were criticizing the PDP. They had different people who were talking on different issues. They had different experts who were coming on television to speak on different things. What the APC had was a shadow government. They were even going on the street to protest. There is nothing wrong with other people replicating what they have done. This is what it should be.
All right.
So if they try to harass you and do this acrobatics of getting, forget those things, overzealous behaviors by people in government is nothing new. Overzealous actions by departments of government, in this case, the Department of State Security, we've seen that before. So please help us to not take these things too seriously.
All right.
They are not. They'll be dealt with.
All right. All right, Dr. Ononuju. The DSS has instituted a lawsuit against Professor Pat Utomi. As at yesterday, Professor Pat Utomi said he has not been served, that whenever he's served, he is ready to respond, and that his supporters are actually raising about 500 lawyers to represent him in court. So he's ready. My question to you is this, Mr. Ononuju. In spite of this legal tussle, in spite of the lawsuits, if the Big Tent coalition of Professor Pat Utomi should gain traction in Nigeria today, if the shadow government should gain traction, what would be its implications to Nigerians, on our democracy, on Nigeria as a whole? If it should gain traction, what implications do you see going forward?
It will see a better organized opposition platform. That's what it is. And that's all Pat Utomi was saying. Let's organize opposition better. That's all he's saying. There's nothing else. So I don't know why people should be worried about the words he used. And no, just forget those issues, please. This is how we're playing. Pat Utomi is there on the side of P2P. Pat Utomi is now saying that the opposition should be better organized. So I don't know why people should get jittery. P2P has been leading the opposition, criticizing government action. Pat probably now thinks there should be more people involved in doing these things, people who speak to specific functions of government and specific areas of the polity. There's nothing new about that. So please, get it in your mind, it will come to fruition. The reason it has not come to fruition right now is because of the manipulative ways that you've seen in some people who want to be part of the opposition. As far as we are concerned, the problem of the opposition is this allowance of the opposition members from the north to allow for the south to also have a right to field their candidate. That was why we left the PDP, started the youth movement, and today the history is a different thing. So if, as Pat is saying, we organize that and we move on with it, I see nothing that will kill us, okay? as far as I'm concerned, a lot of people have recognized Peter Obi as leader of opposition. You saw him, he was at the Vatican, where the president also was at with Governor Fayemi. There's nothing wrong in that. Two of them met at the Vatican, and they shook their hands, and they greeted each other as the new Pope was being sworn in. That's how healthy this issue should be between those in governance and those also in the opposition. It's not a kill me, I kill you business.
All right, Dr. Nonju, talking about the implications of the shadow government now. Now, do you see the federal government of Nigeria buying into the policies of the shadow government? If they critique the policies of the administration and they come up with better policies, do you really see this administration buying into that?
Yes, yes, that's what it does. The idea of removal of fuel subsidy was not an idea of the APC administration. It was an idea of the opposition. The APC bought it, and they implemented removal of fuel subsidy. Same way it can be in other issues. When you are a member of opposition and you critique the government, what you do is you provide what is it that they should do. Just like I criticized the government last week, and I said they should do something in regard to the insecurity that pervades the country. There's nothing wrong. And 2 days after that interview I had with you, the president said he is setting up a national forest guard. This is the way it is. We suggest as opposition, and then the president will go on and act on it. That's the way democracy works. It's not because if you allow members of the ruling party, they may not want to be, tinkering with things that they feel very cozy about. But we make them uncomfortable. We bring it up and we said, you are the one doing this. Of course, I was accusing you, but I was actually accusing the NBC, who frightens all of you into allowing people to speak the truth about what's going on in the country. And what happened? 2 days after, the president said he is establishing the formation of the forest guards to now checkmate these militias that have made our farmers' life very, very difficult and have been killing people everywhere they go to, that we now see insecurity, and we begin to say, is the government complicit? Why are they not doing something about it? Why don't the government wake up and do something about this insecurity? The government says, okay, we'll do something about insecurity. We're setting up a forest guard. That's what the opposition does. They criticize and they provide solutions. They don't criticize for the sake of it. No, they criticize and they provide alternatives or what government should do instead of what government is doing presently. And that's the way government learns. Government takes from those things. Everything you see that the opposition's shadow cabinet will say are things that are good for the country. If the government imbibes those things and implements them, good for the country. If the government doesn't take them, when the opposition comes to the power, it will implement them. That's how it works.
Now, speaking about the offshoot of last week's interview, where you said the NBC has rules to frighten. Well, we don't hold the brief for the NBC, but then there are rules and guidelines for every profession from A to Z, and we try to abide by that for the good of society. But you made a point here about the opposition being the one that proposed the removal of subsidy. So why has the people been criticizing the APC and the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as well? Because you said it was the idea of the opposition, and if it's the idea of the opposition, so why is President Tinubu taking the blame too? Was it the way you proposed it? Because someone will say you might have the idea of the proposal of the removal of the subsidy, but was it were all the things that are supposed to put in place? What did they follow the laid down steps of the proposal of the opposition, even though President Tinubu has never said they bought that idea from the opposition?
Well, it was the opposition idea. When opposition, the PDP implemented the fuel subsidy removal, President Tinubu, President Buhari, and other members of his party went on protest against it. And I remember Tambuwal and his gang members, and Meki Hidden and the rest of them, going to hold House of Rep session at the weekend. on a Saturday and Sunday, all just to oppose President Goodluck. And then Goodluck did the rescinding, and what happened? Later on, when Tinubu was to come to power, those who were going to loan him money told him, you have to do these things that the opposition is asking for, because there was too much fraud in the numbers that were being bandied about by members of the ruling party in terms of government policy, which is called subsidy. But when the government now started doing the subsidy removal, they did not do it in a way that cushioned the effects of the removal. And that is, yes, it's a good idea to remove the subsidy, but the ways you remove the subsidy brought too much suffering and pain on the people. You know, there are ways you can give injection to a child and the child doesn't feel. You see a lot of doctors distracting the child, giving them presents, and they go for that, and before you know it, they are given a shot. You have to do a lot of things, distractions, like palliatives. We didn't get this. Distractions, like telling us where the money will be put into. We've not seen that. Distractions, by telling us, look, if we take it away from here, this is where you'll get it. We have not seen all that. And that's why you see the complaints. And that's why you see the dislocations and the social reactions and the truth about what it has come to cause upon society. So I believe the government should be very open and carry the people along whenever policies are done by not just telling them what is going on, but also showing them where these things are happening and where it's going on. Right now, we didn't see it, and that's why you see President Tinubu has come under heavy criticism. But by and large, the removal of subsidy for me is about the very best thing we've done, because government sustained involvement in the energy market for me represents a distortion of the markets. And I think removing the subsidy was a very good thing to do. But yes, it may not have been done the way it should have been done or the way we expected it to go, alongside palliatives and other things that come with it. Well, every champion will play in regards to the way he has learned and the way he knows to deal his hands. There are people who will score goal and bend it like Beckham. There are those who will score goal and shoot straight shots like some other people, like Ronaldo and whatever. So people have their different ways when it comes to implementation of a generally held idea. I believe that's been kept behind us, and we should move right now to new things. And the new thing, what I believe we should do is arresting the insecurity. As I said, we need to find a way. You were telling me last week that don't just talk about, I have to talk about it generally. The people you want us to protect or don't want to harm. How many times have you seen them come on air to abuse and also condemn the killings across country? They don't. And that's why I believe all of them are in on it. Because the land's being seized through ethnic cleansing. Them, the elite, are the ones that go to manage the land and then administer over it. That's how the house has lost their land. So forget about the cattle brigade. The cattle brigade are used as recognizance brigade. And these people are all in it together. And let me also tell you another thing going to that issue. Nigeria does not, in its laws, recognize settler colonialism. The idea of coming to a community, killing the people, using ethnic cleansing, cleanse them off, and then later on you go to take over the land. What I want to say is anybody that is seen in Benue, in Plateau, in Taraba, in Niger, in Katsina, in Zamfara, in Sokoto, living on a land where indigenous people have been cleansed from should be arrested.
All right, Dr. Onoju. Well, like you said, subsidy has been removed, whether it was the idea of the coalition of the opposition or not. Well, the proceeds from the removal of subsidy and how it's been spent is a topic for another day. But Dr. Onoju, let's do a little reverse psychology here. Looking at the Dss'S lawsuit against Professor Pat Utomi, don't you think it might actually inadvertently give more legitimacy and attention to Professor Pat Utomi's shadow government?
That's what it has done. It has situated it as a truth whose time has come. What Utomi is simply saying is knocking the opposition, telling them, you've not been organized. If you were well organized, you should have organized yourself in this way. What did they do? They don't. Because why is this so? The opposition parties do not respect their members who labor to go and defend the party's interests. They don't. Because if you do, you should look at those people who speak and cover these national issues. The parties don't look after them. That's the main issue. Never mind Pat Utomi's suggestion. Opposition in Nigeria don't care about its members. I speak from experience. I have been the voice of opposition for a very long time. What did I get from my party? Nothing. So because you do not appreciate members who fight to play that duty of shadow governance people on this media space, it falls apart. We only remember the party when it is time for primaries, and that is very wrong. So because of the opposition party's inability to look after its members who have been doing the shadow work for them, that's why we thought it is not normal. No, it is historically institutional. It's an institutional part of democracy that we should have opposition, that should have a voice. But because members of opposition have not been looking after or respecting the interests of those who speak and cover for them, that's why everything is in shambles. Right. That's why the opposition is comatose and moribund. What we have are just big men who just stand up one time, I want to run, I want to... Anybody see talking, he's talking in intention to support some
Doctor,
madman who wants to run.
Yeah, but let's look into some of the positions and the intention of Professor Pat Utomi and some of his thoughts in which he reeled out, and I will take it one after the other. On his social media page, he said, it's amazing that we are chasing shadows while our constitution is unraveling aided by those in power. The constitution holds that those who defect from parties they were elected from must have their seats declared vacant. If DSS enjoys going to court, he should prosecute such. That was part of what he said, and he had to say to the spirit of Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, and the Holy Word of St. Thomas More. I raise the meaning of being what is left of my time on the stage. Looking at those two statements, your impression of them?
Those are words properly couched, properly spoken, and well delivered. I think his words are simply a rebuke on the opposition. The opposition has not done well, and that's why it is seen currently to remain moribund and comatose and very ineffective. I will say that the DSS only picks and chooses what to do. It is more or less an instrument of the party in power. It's always been that way. It's Department of State Security. They are primarily there to defend the presidency. But doing what job political parties should do becomes very worrisome. I think it's the place of the political party to counter this political fireworks, not for the DSS to jump into the arena. I think it's wrong. It's a misplaced priority. It's a misnomer. And it looks like things have gotten out of space. The party in power should be able to defend itself and not enlist institutions of state like the security services to start fighting citizens who now speak publicly in intention towards aiding democracy. I think what they have done is wrong, and I know it will be thrown away by the courts. It has no place in our laws. It's a waste of time. But I think what they have done is they will not get people to come talk to Pat Utomi and say, let us do this. But in doing it, I speak from experience. The party, the opposition, is in disarray. It has to agree to itself. Okay? Now, in line with our unwritten code of zoning, the presidency is currently now in the South. And the South has had 2 years, so we still have about 6 more years to go. So if you now want an opposition properly organized, you must organize this in a way knowing very well that the South still has 6 years. Tinubu has only done 2 years. Not for you to now have Atiku or Elfa, anybody in the North offering us in the South and take VP, take that. That means they're not serious about it. That's why you see the opposition cannot be united. When those who have taken 8 years do not recognize the need of other people to get included through that instrument called zoning, that's why the opposition is comatose, moribund, and dead. And that's why I tell people that the biggest wrecking ball that had the most impactful negative impact on the Nigerian democracy is Atiku Abubakar. Atiku has been a wrecking ball in our democracy, has destroyed the PDP, and now is set to destroy the opposition. The earlier the opposition gets Atiku out of the way, the better they can organize. If not, it will never work.
All right.
It will never work.
All right, Dr. Ononuju, talking about Atiku, but before I come to that, like you rightly said, the DSS is actually inadvertently drawing more attention to Pat Utomi's shadow government, and of course giving it legitimacy, because at the end of the day, if they lose in court, they've actually given more attention to the shadow government, and it will gain traction from there. You just mentioned Atiku, Abubakar Atiku, that's the presidential candidate for the PDP in the 2023 general elections. In an interview with the Punch newspaper, he was talking to a reporter that's talking about Professor Pat Utomi. He was actually asked if he's willing to work with Atiku Abubakar and other members of coalition, the coalition movement, trying to take power from the APC in 2027. And he actually said he's willing to work with anyone. And part of the reasons he gave is this. He said that the present government, and of course most politicians, are only obsessed with power and elections, that between one election and the other, nothing is being done, that they're not talking about governance and governing the people. So he is actually willing to work with any member of the opposition in this coalition as far as the shadow government is concerned. What's your take on that?
That is the right statement to make. We are willing, everybody's willing to work with everyone, work with Atiku. But as you rightly pointed out, Atiku is a manipulative figure. He will come there and telling you, the only way I can work with you, you will make me crucial candidate. How can a democracy have a candidate for life? One party, every time, one candidate. No, it doesn't make sense. He should recognize when he tries, as it is in the United States, and you fail, you give way. You allow other people to also try their luck. Not going there and undermining everything. That's why I tell you, the most negatively impactful person in our democracy since inception of our incipient democracy is Atiku Abubakar. He has done more damage than anyone else.
How do you mean? How do you mean, Dr. Ononuju? How exactly do you
mean? Let me not tell you. Let me tell you how. It was him who formed the MPDP, used that to build a national coalition, and brought down the PDP government of President Goodluck Jonathan. It was him who also returned back to the PDP when he saw that President Buhari was going to run a second term. And yes, he sees that ticket. He got the ticket for the PDP. After he ran, instead of staying there to lead the opposition, he ran away to Dubai. And that was when this vacuum was created. And we could have had a shadow government then challenging the same way APC was challenging with their own shadow arrangement while Goodluck was president. Atiku ran away, and that created a big hollow and big gap. And when it was now 8 years of the North and time for the South to Atiku still came in there and said no PDP, organized some people who now manipulated, gave money, 100 million to the PDP, collected funds, used that now to pin the PDP down, and before you knew it, the PDP now fragmented. Through Atiku's machination, the PDP broke apart, and that's why you saw today the opposition is not together. He is still saying he will run, he will run, he will run. What is he doing? He is manipulating the fraudulent numbers put by soldiers who organize and say this, and that numbers, not this, south, this. All those numbers will not stay. The only way we can build one united country is when we recognize the inclusion of others as pertinent to nation building.
All right.
You cannot do it with only one side of the country. That's why I tell you, Atiku is the most negatively impactful person who have undermined our democracy. If you remove him, the opposition will organize properly.
All right.
But everywhere you see people organizing, he will come in there with his manipulative ways.
All right.
Can't you see him now offering people to be VP?
We're short of time right now. You brutally used the word we. I want to ask you, are you a part of the Big Tent movement, and will you be a part of the shadow cabinet?
You are preempting me. I am a Nigerian, and I am a part of the political class, and I'm available to contribute my quota to nation building. I have been there doing it. We built the building movement, and I am very happy for that record. I have no thing about. I was a member of the PDP alongside Gospel Akpabio, who I also have held in good regard as a good friend and a good brother. So no matter on what side of the divide I and my brothers are, I still see the political class as one full family. So I am a Nigerian.
Yeah, all right.
And I'm a
point made. My last question here before Daniel's. He said, Professor Pat Utomi asked a very fundamental question, one of those tweets. He said, it was put to a question, is this how democracy dies in Nigeria? The answer is in the affirmative. This is how democracy died in Nigeria, where citizens can organize themselves to ask questions, of their agent. Isn't this hasty of a conclusion by Professor Pat Utomi, or having a hardline position in this trajectory?
Well, I will tell you that Utomi is right. The democracy dies when the people keep quiet in the face of tyranny. Soyinka called it the man died. The democracy dies when we stay and do nothing. The democracy dies when we keep quiet and complicit security people allow militias from Mali to kill our farmers. Democracy dies when communities are sacked in an organized ethnic cleansing campaign on an industrial scale. Democracy dies when we say nothing. Democracy dies when we do nothing in the face of all these existential threats to national security.
All right.
Democracy dies when citizens do nothing about bad things in the political space.
All right, Dr. Onoju, just in 1 minute, do you see Atiku Abubakar giving up his presidential ambition for a better coalition in Nigeria?
That is inevitable. That will happen. I know so. There is no two ways about it. Take it to the bank from me. Atiku will not run. All this is manipulative things. Those were times when Nigerians were asleep, not now that we've woken up. We woke up, we broke the party, formed the youth movement, got Peter to head it, and I can tell you, Peter will never go back to working with Atiku. Not as his vice, never. That will never happen. Take that from me. Okay?
All right.
And that will never happen.
All right, Dr. Onoju, thank you so much for being part of the program today. I'm Dr. Pat Utomi, DG Heritage Center. Thank you once again for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And that will be all we'll be taking on the program this morning. It's been wonderful having you, our esteemed viewers on Morning Spring. This is Western Spring Television. Don't forget, you can always check out this conversation on our social media handles at Western Spring Television. Emeka Daniel is my name. Do join us again tomorrow for a fresh edition of Morning Spring.
And of course, we'll make a return tomorrow 7 a.m. For the second installment of the program for the week. I am Nigerian Femi Ojo. God bless Nigeria. Please keep safe. Be alive.